They banned his garden as a danger. Then winter took every crop except his forbidden seeds. One day, the royal storehouses would stand open. No white wheat, no oats, no dry bread for the city guard. Only empty shelves, torn sacks, and grain officers too scared to speak. Even the rats had left. They had understood the truth before the nobles did. The storehouse was finished. In the healer hall, cabinets were opened one by one. There were no herbs inside, only gray dust. In the noble dining room, the long table still had white cloth. The silver plates still shone. But in the center of each plate sat half a dark loaf. Food that servants once refused was now sliced into 8 pieces by a countess with shaking hands. Outside the wall, night feeders moved through the black snow. They were not an army. They were hunger moving in the snow. Inside the wall, 500,000 people waited for one thing. A seed. One seed to wake up. And in all of Alenril, the only place still glowing was a small greenhouse in the South District. 3 glass panels were cracked. A torn red seal still hung from the door. There was no gold inside. No soldiers. No royal banner. See the greenhouse floor. Only a young gardener kneels in the soil. See his hands. The skin is cracked from the cold. Watch his fingers. Gently, like he is uncovering a buried jewel, he brushes the soil away. There, a single white root. He needs to know if it has chosen the right direction. His name was Rowan Hale. That night, the kingdom finally understood. What they had tried to destroy was not a weed. It was the last city's bowl of food. But at the start, no one believed that. At the start, they saw only a dirty gardener, a young man with no future, a joke who cared more about strange plants than about royal law. 3 months earlier, the South District laughed at Rowan Hale. His garden stood between the old drain and Apothecary Street. The wall leaned to one side. The wooden gate had turned black from rain. The greenhouse glass always carried a faint green glow. It did not grow roses for nobles. It did not grow approved wheat for the royal farms. It did not grow anything listed in the grain office books. It grew strange things. Silver vein greens folded their leaves at night, as if they were closing their fists. Clean root grass pushed roots into cracks in stone and pulled dark water clear. A night wall vine hung from the greenhouse beam. By day, it looked like a lifeless rope. At night, it slid along the wall and tightened when it heard claws in the drain. The royal inspectors came on the morning after a snowfall. People gathered outside the garden to watch. Inspector Marin Varl wore a gray coat and a copper badge from the Royal Grain Office. Behind him stood 6 soldiers and 2 young nobles. The soldiers carried oil. The nobles carried smiles. Marin slapped a red seal onto the gate. The seal said one thing: dangerous forbidden growth. Rowan stood inside the gate with wet soil on his hands. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows. Black dirt filled the lines of his fingers. It was not normal dirt. It came from the northern marsh, where disaster poison had soaked into the ground. Most people would not touch it. Rowan loosened it in a seed tray with the care of someone feeding a child. You are still touching that soil. It is not poison. Poison never calls itself poison. The nobles laughed. Some people said Rowan's father had been a gardener too. They said he kept forbidden seeds after the crown ordered them destroyed. They said the Hale Garden had once saved an entire street during a plague winter. No one could prove it. The proof had gone into the fire. Marin lifted a document. By order of the kingdom, all unregistered altered plants must be turned over within 3 days. If you refuse, the garden will be destroyed. The land will return to the grain office. Rowan looked at the paper. Then he looked at the oil in the soldier's hands. 3 days. 3 days. Then we light the fire. Hear that? First whispers. Then a few laughs. The baker woman crosses her arms. Good. Strange weeds should not grow inside the city. A grain trader raised his chin. If he could really grow food, why is he not at the royal farm? One noble walked to the greenhouse window and looked at the glowing leaves inside. Can these things even be eaten? Some of them can. The noble laughed louder. Eaten by who? Not by a dog. Rowan did not argue. He turned and moved a tray of silver vein greens away from the window. The noble was blocking the last good sunlight of the morning. That made the crowd laugh even harder. Look at him. The forbidden gardener is worried about his weeds. Marin put a second seal on the greenhouse door. From this moment on, no one enters this garden. No seed leaves this place. No plant is moved. Then he lowered his voice. Rowan, do not make this hard. Your father already paid for these things once. Rowan's fingers stopped. He remembered his father standing at the same gate. Rowan had been 12. The night was cold then, too. His father pushed a small iron box into his hands and said one sentence. Remember this. Plants do not betray the soil. People do. That night, the northern storehouse went up in flames. Every seed registered under the Hale name was called a danger. His father was taken away. The next morning, the notices were pasted across the city. Illegal growth. Threat to the food order. Since then, Rowan had not heard his father's name spoken with respect. He hid the iron box beneath a greenhouse tile. He hid it for 9 years. After Marin left, the crowd broke apart. The last person at the gate was a small girl named Lila. She lived in the 3rd alley of the South District. Her mother was sick. She could not afford real medicine. Rowan had often given her a few bitter lamp leaves. When boiled, they helped with fever. Are they really going to destroy it, Mr. Rowan? Rowan looked back through the gate. Not yet. But they sealed it. Seals stop people. They do not stop roots. The girl did not understand. Rowan did not explain. That night, the South District went dark one window at a time. Outside the city wall, sounds scraped through the old drains. The night feeders had come after the disaster years. They were not large, but they moved in groups. They chewed through grain sacks. They broke into empty sheds. They hunted where people were weakest. Rowan opened the back door and slipped into the greenhouse. The front seal was still untouched. The back door had no seal. Cold air moved through the cracked glass. Leaves curled into tight fists on the seed beds. Rowan lit a green lamp. He lifted the floor tile. Then he pulled out the iron box his father had left him. Inside were 12 seed packets. Each one was wrapped in old paper. Each one had his father's handwriting. Cleanroot grass, silver grain, nightwall vine, bitter lamp leaf. And one packet had no name. Only a warning. Plant this when the soil begins to turn black. Rowan held the nameless packet in his palm. It weighed almost nothing. Like dust. He did not plant it yet. He knew the real danger of forbidden seeds. It was not the plant. It was the hand that used it without understanding. Cleanroot could drink poison. It could also drain healthy soil until nothing remained. Nightwall vine could guard an alley. It could also trap anyone who crossed its line in the dark. Silver grain could grow through winter. But if harvested too early, it made people terribly sick. His father had said it many times. Forbidden seeds are not miracles. They are rules. Miss one rule, and food becomes a disaster. The next morning, the first herb shed in the city collapsed. Not from wind. The herbs inside had turned black overnight. By the time healers arrived, lily root had become dark water. Wound leaf broke into ash. Even frost moss had dried into hard strings. The grain office called it a local problem. The next day, white wheat in the east storehouse began to spoil. The day after that, the royal winter fields bent flat under a gray frost. Then the South District wells tasted bitter. By the 6th day, even vegetables in the noble market tasted like metal. The city began to panic. Lines formed outside grain shops. Prices rose every morning. Apothecary Street filled with people coughing under blankets. Healers held empty baskets and looked more frightened than their patients. The grain office posted a notice. Remain calm. The royal stores are strong. The problem will be controlled. Rowan knew they were wrong. He had seen black mud in the drain behind his greenhouse. It was not simple waste. It moved slowly at the bottom of the channel. It gave off a faint sweet smell. Sweetness was the warning sign. His father had taught him that. Before disaster poison consumes land, the soil smells sweet. Rowan touched the black mud with one finger. His skin did not react. Instead, a nearby cleanroot plant glowed at the tip. It was thirsty. It wanted the poison. Then Rowan understood his father's old sentence. Plants do not betray the soil. The plants were not the source of the problem. They were the cure the kingdom had destroyed. On the 7th evening, the grain office returned to destroy the garden. Marin came again. This time, more soldiers stood behind him. More people came to watch too. The city was hungry now. Hungry people needed someone to blame. Destroy the weeds, someone shouted. The garden caused this, another voice cried. Marin did not light the fire at once. He looked older than he had a week ago. His eyes were dark from no sleep. Rowan stood at the gate. He did not hide. Open it. What if I can prove these plants are not the danger? One noble laughed at once. With your glowing weeds? Rowan ignored him. He looked beyond the crowd. Lila was there. She was holding up her mother. The woman looked gray and weak. Dark spots covered her wrist. It was black fever from poisoned herbs. The healers had no medicine. Food was too expensive. She might not last 2 more days. The soil at 3rd Street has turned black. Give me 1 piece of land. Give me 1 hour. Marin frowned. You want to delay us. If I fail, destroy the garden. If I succeed, do not light the fire. The noble said, why should we give him anything? An old man in the crowd spoke first. Because we have no herbs left. For 1 moment, the street went quiet. Then another voice said, my bread turned black this morning. Then more voices joined. Let him try. 1 hour will not make us poorer. Marin hated it. But he saw the sick in the crowd. He saw the closed doors on Apothecary Street. He saw the oil in his own soldiers' hands. At last, he stepped aside. 1 hour. Rowan tore down the seal and opened the garden. No one laughed this time. The green light from the greenhouse rolled out over the street. Everyone saw the forbidden plants. They had not withered. While the city's herbs failed and its food spoiled, Rowan's greenhouse was still alive. He took a tray of clean root seedlings. He took a handful of silver grain seeds. He took 1 short piece of nightwall vine. Marin stared at it. You are bringing that vine into the street. Without it, your soldiers will not hold the south drain tonight. Marin opened his mouth. Listen, that is not the wind. The night feeders are moving. Rowan did not waste a breath. He led them to the end of 3rd Street. Look at the soil. Black, wet, too sweet in the air. A normal wheat seed would fail there within an hour. Rowan ordered soldiers to loosen the topsoil. Then he planted clean root in a triangle. The noble smiled again. That does not even look like a proper field. Proper fields are already failing. He scattered silver grain in the center. Then he poured well water over the ground. Black bubbles rose at once. People stepped back. Watch the clean root. The leaves tremble. Thin white roots push into the soil like needles. Black mud pulled toward them. Leaves turned gray, then deep green. The sweet smell faded. The ground cracked in small lines. Silver grain slipped into those cracks. A faint white glow formed on each seed. After 10 minutes, the first sprout appeared. After 30 minutes, leaves opened. After 50 minutes, a low sheet of silver grass covered the street corner. No one spoke. Rowan pulled the fastest stalk from the edge. He opened the grain shell and handed the pale kernels to Lila. Her mother shook her head. Can she eat this? Only boiled. Only the white kernels. Throw away the gray ones. No more than 1 bowl a day at first. The first bowls go to children and the sick. The noble wanted to laugh. He could not. Lila drank the first spoonful of thin porridge. A little color returned to her lips. Her mother began to cry. The street no longer shouted for fire. But Rowan knew food was only the first part. The cry beyond the wall grew closer. Night falls. Listen at the south drain. Wood cracks. Shapes move through the old opening. They looked like thin black wolves, but their eyes were cloudy yellow. Soldiers raised shields and pushed forward. The first wave drove them back. Marin shouted for the men to close the gap. There were too many. They were not drawn by people first. They had smelled the grain. Rowan pressed the night wall vine into the mud beside the drain. Then he pressed his thumb to the vine joint. What are you doing? Giving it a border. Watch the vine wake. It tightens. It moves like a rope pulled by an unseen hand. It slipped into the wall cracks and spread over the drain. Within seconds, it became a living net. The first night feeder leaped. The vine caught its front legs and threw it down. The second tried to tear through the vine. It was trapped by the thorns. Soldiers froze. Do not stand in the vine shadow. Stay inside the light. He hung a green lamp on the wall. The vine attacked only beyond the light. The soldiers understood at once. They stopped charging blindly. They stood at the edge of the lamp glow and pushed the trapped night feeders back with spears. In less than 10 minutes, the drain was quiet. The south gate held. Now Marin looked at Rowan differently. Not with trust. Not yet. With fear. And with a little hope. How many of these seeds do you have? Not many. Give them to the grain office. The kingdom will manage them. Rowan looked at him. You have not asked for the first rule. Marin's face hardened. This is not the time to bargain. That is exactly why the seeds cannot go to people who do not know how to use them. Are you threatening the crown? I am trying to keep you from planting the last food wrong. That night, 3rd Street ate silver grain porridge. It was thin. It tasted like wheat and grass. But people held their bowls like holy things. Lila's mother slept without fever. 3 children who had drunk poisoned well water woke up. The soldiers at the drain received half bowls and did not complain about the South District for the first time. Rowan did not eat. He went back to the greenhouse. He lit one lamp. Then he spread the remaining seed packets on the table. His father had left 12 packets. Now there were 11 and a half. The city had 500,000 people. 11 and a half packets could not feed them, unless the seeds multiplied, unless every seed entered the right soil, unless every field was watered at the right time, unless every harvest saved the next generation. Rowan opened a blank ledger. On the first page, he wrote, "Forbidden seeds are not trophies. They are food. They are medicine. They are walls." Then he added one more line. "Anyone who wants a seed must learn the rule first." The next morning, the city bell rang 9 times. It was not a holiday bell. It was a disaster bell. 3 northern granaries had failed. The royal farms were black. The roads outside the city were cut off by night feeders. From that day on, Elenril was no longer a proud capital. It was the last city still holding a light. And the only place still growing was the garden they had sealed the day before. Before Marin returned with a royal order, the South District had already chosen. That night, Rowan turned 3rd Street into a porridge station. Not everyone wanted to obey. Some thought silver grain grew so fast that every empty spot should be planted at once. Some thought the first pot should go to whoever paid more. Someone hid gray kernels in a sleeve for an old relative. Rowan found them. He did not shame the man. He dropped the gray kernels into a broken bowl and poured hot water over them. The water turned iron gray. A shiny film rose to the surface. A sweet smell spread. People stepped back. The man went pale. Rowan pointed to the gray film on the water. He did not speak. He waited. The man stared at the bowl. Then he stepped away from it. He understood. No lecture. No shouting. Only the bowl. Only the rule. The baker woman was the first to step forward. She had wanted his garden destroyed. Now she carried her last large pot to the street corner. "I can cook porridge." Rowan looked at the pot. Silver grain cannot be cooked in copper. Her face turned red. "Then what can I do?" "You know how to divide one pot among 50 people without a fight. Use wooden buckets. Mark the bowls. Same line for every person. Sick people first. Children next. Then the night guards. You handle it." She took the wooden ladle with wet eyes. That was how the first ration keeper was made. Marin watched from the street. He expected Rowan to gather praise. He expected him to act like a new lord of the South District. Rowan did not. He corrected every bowl. If someone took too much, he poured it back. If someone tried to save a place for family, he sent them to the end. If medicine leaves got too close to the grain pot, he moved the whole table. The mouthful you take, maybe the mouthful someone else needs to reach morning. An old man shouted that Rowan had no heart. The old man threw his bowl. It broke on the stones. The night wall vine moved near the wall. Rowan raised a hand and told the lamp guard to stay still. Bowls can break. The line cannot. That night, no one in the South District was full, but no one was left without food. In a failing city, that was almost a miracle. Look at this small rule. After eating, wash the bowl. Put it back. Someone asked, "Why care about bowls now?" "Because we need them tomorrow." Tomorrow. That word settled in the street like a warm coal. While storehouses stood empty and night feeders pushed at the drains, Rowan made people believe in tomorrow again. At dawn, Lila's mother woke without fever. She tried to thank him. 3 bitter lamp leaves. Boil them twice. The second water is for Lila. It helps prevent fever. The woman cried. Rowan did not stay. He went to check the lamp oil. Gratitude could not hold a drain. Light could. By mid-morning, the first servants from the upper district arrived. Their clothes were cleaner than South District clothes. Their eyes were just as hungry. They said the noble kitchens had been locked. Leftovers were taken by the house stewards. Noble dogs still had soup. Servants had moldy bread. South District people did not want to share. Yesterday, many of these servants had chased the poor away from noble doors. Today they carried empty bowls. Any black fever among them? 2 children. Register the children first. And the adults? After the lamp guards. Someone shouted, "They are not from our district." Disaster does not check addresses. The man looked away. From that day on, Rowan's garden was no longer just a South District secret. The whole city needed it. And the whole city began to watch it. The royal order carried a gold seal. Marin handed it to Rowan with stiff fingers. The city had become colder overnight. It was not normal winter cold. It came up from the ground. Water buckets had black ice on top. Tiny bubbles moved under the ice, as if the water was breathing. Rowan did not take the order. He looked at the empty grain sacks behind Marin. By royal command, the Forbidden Garden will be placed under temporary control of the grain office. All seeds will be recorded. All planting will be assigned. All harvest will be distributed by the kingdom. Who will plant them? Royal farm masters. Can they read the 3 root colors of clean root? Marin said nothing. Rowan asked again. Do they know the first generation of silver grain cannot all be harvested? Do they know Nightwall vine cannot change lamp position for 7 days after it learns a border? Do they know bitter lamp leaf cannot be boiled in copper? A plant is a plant. Give it water, soil, and sun. How complicated can it be? Rowan walked into the greenhouse and returned with a gray leaf seedling. This is clean root. He lifted the leaves. Half the roots were white. Half were black. White roots drink poison. Black roots push poison out. If you see only healthy leaves and move the plant without checking the roots, the poison returns to the soil in 2 hours. Then the whole bed fails. The officer closed his mouth. We do not have time for lessons. Then do not touch the seeds. Marin finally lost patience. There are 500,000 people waiting for food. Rowan's voice became even quieter. That is why I cannot let 500,000 people suffer from your hurry. They stared at each other. At last, Marin folded the order and put it away. What do you want? People. Soldiers? No. People who listen. Steady hands. People willing to remember rules. Not noble farm masters. Not officials who only recite books. I want neighbors, sick families, lamp guards, and healer apprentices. Each person learns one plant. If they learn wrong, they move to another job. What else? Empty land. The city has empty land. Not every empty place can be planted. I need to check water, wind, shadow, drains, and the sweetness in the soil. Clean fields cannot sit too close to food fields. Medicine houses cannot sit near the Smith Street. Vine lines cannot run below bedroom windows. Marin took a breath. What else? Authority. The officers stiffened. Not noble authority. Stopping authority. If anyone pulls plants, rushes harvest, changes watering, steals seed, or changes a lamp, I can remove them from the field. That includes you. Marin's hand moved toward his sword. The soldiers behind him shifted. Rowan did not step back. Inside the greenhouse, every leaf seemed to listen. Finally, Marin took his hand away. I can give you 3 days. 1 day? Marin stared at him. In 3 days, the South District will have stable grain. In 7 days, Bitterlamp can supply 2 streets. In 10 days, Nightwall Vine can seal the lower drains. But only if we start today. Are you certain? No. Everyone went pale. Rowan continued. But I know where the uncertainty is better than you do. And so the Forbidden Garden opened for the first time. Not for nobles. For workers. Rowan divided the space outside the greenhouse into 4 parts. The first was the cleansing field. It did not grow food. It grew clean root. The roots worked like green filters. They pulled disaster poison out of black soil. Every evening, Rowan's team cut the gray old leaves and buried them in lime pits. No one could take them home. Dried gray leaves smelled sweet, almost like spice. In food, they were dangerous. The second part was the silver field. This was for grain. Every row sat 3 steps from the next. Every 10th row was never harvested. Rowan called it the mother row. Some people did not understand. Why leave food standing when people were hungry? If you eat every seed today, tomorrow you eat dirt. The third part was the bitterlamp house. After the city herbs failed, bitterlamp leaf became the only medicine that could calm black fever. The leaves looked like small lamps with yellow edges. They could not be cut with iron. Only bone knives or glass blades. Healer apprentices thought that was foolish. On the first day, one of them ruined 3 plants. Rowan did not shout. He dropped the damaged leaves into a fire bowl. Black smoke rose. The 3 apprentices bent over coughing. Remember that smell. If you cut wrong, that is what your patient drinks. The fourth part was not a field. It was the Nightwall line. Rowan planted vine pieces at drains, narrow alleys, and broken walls. Beside each one, he hung a green lamp. When the lamp stayed lit, the vine stayed outside the light. When the lamp went out, the vine treated movement as danger. What if the lamp goes out? Then you guard the lamp. The soldier gives a tired smile. We used to guard gates. Now we guard lamps. Gates cannot stop what comes through drains. Lamps can. The soldier looked at his damaged shield and did not argue. By the end of the first day, the South District had 47 forbidden seed apprentices. They were not heroes. They were a baker woman, water carriers, old neighbors, 2 grain workers who had once mocked Rowan, several healer apprentices, and Lila. Lila was too young for knives. Rowan let her memorize leaf colors. She learned faster than anyone. White roots can move. Gray leaves get cut. Black roots stay buried. Silver kernels boil twice. Green lamps hang east. That night, Lila did something Rowan did not expect. She did not only repeat the words. She wrote them. Small letters. Careful lines. Rowan saw the scrap in her hand. Who taught you to write? Lila hid the paper at first. Then she looked toward the room where her mother slept. My mother. She said food keeps you alive today. But knowing how to read keeps you alive when the food is gone. Rowan did not smile, but his voice changed. Then you do not only memorize leaf colors. You read the rule book. Watch Lila's eyes. For the first time, she is not just a child near the garden. She is the first person who can carry its memory. That night, Rowan wrote the first list in his ledger. It was not a list of people. It was a list of mistakes. Mistake 1. Clean root planted too close to a well makes water bitter for a short time. Mistake 2. Silver grain watered too late absorbs too much night cold. Mistake 3. Bitter lamp glowing too brightly before harvest is not healthy. It is overheating. Marin saw the ledger. Why record failure? Success becomes a miracle in people's mouths. Failure tells us the rule. Marin looked at the page for too long. His deputy noticed. Sir, you know this family, don't you? Marin did not answer at first. Listen to the silence. It is heavier than anger. 9 years ago, I carried one order from the palace. The Hale order? I signed the burn report. You were following command. That is what I told myself. He looked through the glass at Rowan. His father warned us. We called it danger because we did not understand it. Is that why you hate the sun? No. That is why I hate standing near him. He reminds me that obedience can be another kind of mistake. Outside, clean root leaves moved in the cold light. Marin whispered, almost to himself. Maybe his father was right. The soil does not lie. People do. On the second day, the West District rioted. A grain merchant had hidden white wheat in his warehouse. When people found it, it was already spoiled. He had tried to mix it with sand and sell it anyway. Hungry families broke into the warehouse. Many ate the bad flour before anyone could stop them. That night, dozens fell sick. The healers had no medicine. Marin came to Rowan with only one sentence. The West District needs bitter lamp. Rowan looked at the greenhouse. There were only 6 baskets. By rule, the first batch belonged to the South District patients. West District was farther away. The leaves needed warmth during travel. Some would be lost. People in the South District heard the request and fell quiet. We do not have enough for ourselves. West District charged us the highest grain prices. Let the nobles use their own medicine. Rowan did not answer at once. He walked into the greenhouse and looked at the 6 glowing baskets. What does a gardener fear most? Not insects. Not frost. It is knowing one leaf can help one person while 10 people wait outside. Lila stood behind him. If we do not send it, will West District people suffer? Yes. If we send it, will our people suffer? Yes. Lila looked down. Then how do we choose? Rowan lifted the bone cutter. We do not choose districts. We choose condition. He told Marin to register fever levels. Patients with dark breathing first. Patients with wrist marks, but steady steps wait. Children, pregnant women, lamp guards, and field workers move up. Nobles do not move up because they are noble. Poor people do not move up just because they are poor. The person closest to the edge gets the medicine first. Marin watched him. This will anger everyone. In a hungry city, pleasing everyone means failing the person who needs help most. The bitter lamp leaves were divided into 36 portions. Each portion had a name. When that news reached the upper district, the first angry people were not the sick. They were the nobles. Count Valmont sent a silver box. Inside were 20 gold coins and a note. The countess requires 6 portions of bitter lamp. Rowan did not count the coins. What level is her fever? A mild one. Then she waits. The messenger's face tightened. Do you know who you are refusing? Rowan pushed the box back. I know who I am helping. That night, Valmont's carriage blocked the garden gate. Noble guards pushed 6 South District people aside and demanded priority medicine by royal courtesy. By the time Marin arrived with soldiers, Rowan was already at the gate. He held no sword, only a green lamp. The guard captain laughed. "Are you going to strike us with a lamp?" Rowan hung the lamp on the left side of the gate. "The right side is a vine line. Step forward if you want." The guard looked down. He saw nothing. He took one step and smiled. The ground moved. A black vine rose from below the threshold, wrapped around his boot, and pulled him flat onto the stones. The thorns did not pierce him. They locked onto his armor and held him in place. The other guards moved forward. Rowan did not move. The vine did not attack further. Marin arrived and saw the guard lying helpless at the gate. "I told you, green light is the border." Marin looked at the vine. Then he looked at the noble carriage. He finally understood. Rowan's garden was not just a greenhouse anymore. It was an order of survival. Anyone who ignored that order would meet the rules faster than any court could act. On the third day, the first stable silver grain harvest came in. Porridge smell moved through 3rd Street. It was not rich. It was not thick. But the whole street fell silent. Grain went into wooden buckets. Families received portions by marked wooden tokens. 1 token, 1 mark, 1 serving. Rowan did not allow hoarding. A man tried to claim a second portion using the name of a brother who had passed 2 nights before. Rowan found out. He did not order punishment. He took the man to the silver field. Then he told him to count the mother rows. 1 row, 2 rows, 3. At the 10th row, the man began to cry. "I was not trying to steal. I was afraid there would be nothing tomorrow." "I am afraid too." The man looked up. "That is why we save seed." After that day, South District people began guarding the mother rows themselves. No speech was needed. No oath. They knew the grain that was not eaten today was tomorrow's life. On the 6th day, the royal farm masters arrived. Watch the street change. Clean white coats enter the mud. Polished tool boxes pass cracked bowls. At the front is Cedric, the youngest professor at the Royal Agricultural Academy. Years earlier, he called the Hale family's work a superstition. Now he stands before the only living fields in the city. He does not bow. He studies. That is the first thing Rowan notices. Your cleansing field is strong, but your north silver bed is too dry under the surface. I checked it at dawn. Cedric opens a folded irrigation chart. The old drain below it pulls water sideways. The leaves look fine now. By night, the roots will curl. Marin watches Rowan. So does Lila. This should be a simple warning, but it touches the wrong wound. See Rowan's face. The palace took his father. The academy mocked his seeds. The grain office sealed his garden. Now an academy man tells him how to water the last grain. Rowan hears advice, but under it, he hears an old fire. The academy has never grown living silver grain. No, but water still obeys gravity. My field obeys my rules. Cedric's jaw tightens. Marin steps closer. Rowan. No, no royal chart touches that bed. The words are too hard. Even Rowan hears it. But fear has already spoken first. That afternoon, the north silver bed begins to fail. Not loudly. That is the danger. Look close. The top leaves stay silver, but the lower stems bend inward. The roots are thirsty below the surface. Lila sees it first. She runs to Rowan with his old note. This line says water before dusk when the stem bends, not after dark. Rowan takes the note. His father wrote the same warning. Cedric was right. Marin arrives with the professor. Cedric does not look proud. He looks scared. If we cut a side trench now, we can save it. And if the trench pulls poison from the lower layer, then we line it with clean root leaves. Your rule. My water path. Both or nothing. The field trembles in the wind. 20 rows. Enough food for hundreds. Rowan can feel the old fear in his chest. If he trusts the wrong system, he repeats his father's end. If he trusts no one, the city pays for his fear. Rowan lowers the bone cutter. Cut the side trench. Lila, read the water timing aloud. Cedric, you guide the angle. Marin, keep people off the bed. Now watch the scene move. Cedric kneels in the mud. Marin holds back the crowd. Lila reads from the note with a shaking voice. Rowan lays clean root leaves along the trench. Water slides in. Slow. Controlled. The curled stems loosen. One by one they stand. The north bed survives. No one cheers. They are too aware of how close it came. Cedric wipes mud from his sleeve. Your father understood the plant. The academy should have listened. Rowan looks at the saved rows. My father was right. But that does not make every system wrong. Marin hears it. So does Lila. It is the first time Rowan's rules make room for another mind. That night, he opens the ledger. Mistake 4. Fear can look like caution. Mistake 5. A rule that cannot accept correction becomes pride. Under it, he writes a new field order. No expansion decision by one person alone. Gardener, water reader, lamp guard, record keeper. All 4 must agree. Cedric signs it first. Then Rowan. Then Marin. Then Lila, with small, careful letters. From that day, Cedric no longer manages from above. He works inside the system. He organizes irrigation charts. He asks before he changes a channel. He teaches water behavior. Rowan teaches root behavior. The city learns something important. Survival is not one man being right. Survival is a rule that can be corrected before it fails. On the 10th day, the South District vine line was complete. From above, the district looked stitched together by green thread. When night feeders came through drains, they touched vine nets first. The more they struggled, the tighter the nets held. Soldiers no longer chased shadows. They guarded lamps. They repaired lamps. They carried oil like it was water in the desert. On the 12th day, the Bitter Lamp House expanded into Apothecary Street. Healers lowered their voices for the first time and learned leaf colors from South District apprentices. An old healer made a boiling mistake and came to the gate to apologize. Rowan did not shame him. He wrote the error in the ledger and made him learn again. On the 15th day, the cleansing fields pushed toward the Central District. Black soil turned usable block by block. It did not return to old soil. It became something new, darker, colder. Only forbidden seeds could grow in it. Normal wheat still failed there. Some people said this was not saving the city. They said it was making the city depend on strange plants. Rowan heard it. He did not deny it. Part of it was true. The city was depending on his garden. That was dangerous. So he began building seed banks. Not in one place. In 12 places. Clean root seed under the old well. Bitter lamp seed in the clock tower on Apothecary Street. Nightwall vine pieces beneath the lamp guard barracks. Silver grain mother seed under the floorboards of Lila's home. Are you not afraid they will steal them? I am more afraid one fire will take all the seeds at once. Marin had no answer. He remembered the night the Hale records were destroyed. Maybe he finally understood. The kingdom had not destroyed a few dangerous plants. It had destroyed one chance to survive. On the 18th day, the palace summoned Rowan. It was his first time entering the upper district. The streets were wide. The roofs had gold edges. The fountain still ran clear water in the plaza. But Rowan could smell sweetness in it. Nobles covered disaster odor with perfume. It was like covering hunger with manners. King Odric sat above the throne hall. He was not old, but he looked exhausted. Queen Alara stood beside him. Count Valmont stood nearby. Cedric was there too, pale and quiet. Marin stood behind Rowan like an unwilling witness. Rowan Hale, the city thanks you for your service. Rowan did not bow deeply. Thanks do not sprout. The hall froze. Insolent. The king lifted one hand. What do you want? In the dangerous growth law. The nobles stirred. Rowan continued. Not free planting. Stricter planting. Every forbidden seed must have a registered grower, a registered field, a registered mother row, and a registered error log. Any noble, officer, farm master, or soldier who breaks the rules loses planting rights. Valmont smiled sharply. You want grass to rule nobles? Rowan looked at him. No. Hunger does that. The count's face tightened. Second request? Food priority must be public. Children, patients, lamp guards, and field workers first. Nobles may buy. They may not cut the line. Even the king went silent. Rowan knew how dangerous the words were. In Elenral, food had always moved first to the famous, the rich, and the powerful. Now food grew in forbidden soil. Forbidden soil did not know family names. It knew water. It knew time. It knew hands. Third request? Give me the old South Botanical Garden. Impossible. That is royal land. It is ruined land. It has old water channels and standing greenhouse frames. It can become the main seed bank. I will not build a mansion. I will not tax people. I will not raise private soldiers. All records stay public. And if I refuse, then I keep saving the South District. I save what I can. When the Upper District stores are empty, you can ask again. The air in the hall went cold. Marin breathed in sharply behind him. It sounded almost like a threat. But Rowan was not a hero. He did not know how to give grand speeches. He only knew one thing. Seeds did not grow faster because a crown was bright. The king stared at him for a long time. Give him the old botanical garden. Valmont turned in shock. Your Majesty. The king's voice was tired. Count, how much edible wheat remains in your warehouse? Valmont did not answer. Mine is not enough either. After Rowan received the old garden, the first thing he did was not plant more. He stopped planting. No one understood. South District fields had proven silver grain could help the city. Why not cover the old garden at once? The palace had given him 7 days. The upper district sent letters 3 times a day. Every letter said the same thing. Increase production. Rowan clipped the letters into his ledger. Beside them, he wrote 2 words. Pressure ignored. The old garden soil was too complex. See the soil in Rowan's hand. The top layer? Dead. Dust. He digs deeper. Darker soil. Old fertilizer. 1 more inch down. Watch his fingers. The mud glistens. Too wet. Too sweet. The danger was not one poison. It was the layers. If clean root stayed shallow, it cleaned only the top. If it went too deep, it pulled sweet water up and made the soil worse. So Rowan ordered soil columns. Every 10 steps, workers cut a narrow column of soil. They divided it into 3 jars. Each jar was covered with white cloth. After 12 hours, they checked the stains. White stain meant cleanse. Gray stain meant wait. Black stain meant seal. Purple stain meant leave the area. When Cedric saw the method, his face looked pained. This is not Academy standard. Which Academy standard brought a field back? Cedric did not answer. He knelt and began cutting the second soil column. That was better than an apology. Water became the next fight. Clean root needed water after drinking poison. Silver grain needed clean water. Bitter lamp needed warm water. Nightwall vine needed very little. The old city water system had served nobles and markets first. The South District had wells. The old garden had sealed channels. Now all of it had to become one living system. Water caused more anger than grain. On the 3rd day, a central district merchant brought workers to the temporary water station. He said he had paid water tax. He had the right to take clean water first. Behind him stood 2 sick children. He had brought them on purpose. The baker woman was guarding water that day. She almost gave in. Rowan arrived as the merchant loaded barrels onto a cart. What will you use the water for? Porridge. What grain? White wheat. Rowan looked into the barrels. This water is for warming the bitter lamp house. If you use it to cook spoiled white wheat, you will move poison faster into people. Who are you to decide how I use my water? I do not decide your water. I decide this station's water. The merchant slapped down a tax paper. The kingdom recognizes this. Rowan looked at it and set it down. The kingdom also recognized the law that sealed my garden. The merchant had no answer. Rowan sent the children to the medicine line and gave the merchant a water token. He could receive water, not because he had paid tax, because he had sick children at home. After that, many people called Rowan arrogant. Some said he wanted to be king of the South District. Some said he hated the wealthy. Some said he had turned a garden into his own fortress. Rowan heard the talk. The next day, he posted a new notice at the seed bank. All food, medicine, and water records are public. Anyone may inspect them. Anyone may question them. But every question must include a name and evidence. 27 people came to complain that day. 11 cases were misunderstanding. 6 were caught trying to receive food twice. 3 were tests sent by noble stewards. 7 were real problems. Night lamp guards had been placed after day guards, even though their work was more dangerous. Older people needed thinner porridge. Bitter lamp steam might help clean clothing for families without symptoms. Rowan wrote down all 7. That night, he changed 3 rules. People discovered something important. He could be challenged. He just could not be ordered into a mistake. The old garden's order grew slowly, not like a palace rising from the ground, more like roots. Quiet, hidden, holding everything together. On the 6th day, the first group of lamp guards finished training. Marin led them himself. The training was not about fighting. It was about remembering light. Each guard had to recite every lamp post, oil level, backup flame, retreat line, and vine shadow border. Anyone who failed could not serve night duty. One old soldier complained. He had served 3 wall battles. He did not need a gardener's rhyme. Marin threw his damaged shield at the soldier's feet. Last night, that rhyme saved this shield and my arm. The old soldier stopped complaining. At night, Rowan watched soldiers light lamps, put them out, change position, and retreat to marked lines. Lila stood beside him. Why not use bigger fires? Big fire makes night wall vine think it is day. It sleeps. Then why not use more vine? Too much vine steals water from the soil. Then why not build stone walls? Stone does not know which crack the night feeders will use. Lila thought about it. So nothing saves the city alone. Rowan nodded. Seeds do not. Vines do not. People do not. Then what does? Rowan looked at the green lamps coming alive. Working together. Later, soldiers carved those words above the lamp guard door. Not by royal command. By choice. Rowan stood before the old botanical garden gate. The iron hinges were rusted. Lifeless vines covered the wall. It had once been the most beautiful place in Elenril. After the disaster years, it became a place parents warned children about. Rowan placed his hand on the gate. Something echoed behind it. Not a ghost. Water. Land with one breath left. Lila stood beside him with a bag of silver grain mother seed. Will this become a new garden? No. She blinked. Rowan pushed open the gate. Inside were black greenhouse frames like the ribs of a fallen giant. This will become the city's stomach. Far away, the upper district bell rang again. Only 3 times. The main royal storehouse had reached emergency level. At the same moment, Count Valmont stood on his balcony and watched the green light in the south district. He no longer looked angry. He looked hungry in another way. A gardener should not hold the throat of a kingdom. It took 3 days to clear the first path through the old botanical garden. Rowan did not repair the front gate first. He ordered people to dig trenches. A noble supervisor did not understand. He said the new greenhouse should raise a royal banner first, then build an office, then assign guards. Rowan listened and asked one question. Can a banner drain water? The supervisor said nothing. The old drainage system was more complex than Rowan expected. It had once connected 12 city channels. Now mud and old roots blocked most of it. Disaster poison sat at the bottom like sweet oil. If they planted grain too soon, the whole greenhouse would become a poison pot. So the first crop in the old garden was not silver grain. It was clean root. Thousands of clean root seedlings were planted along the channels. Each one had a wooden tag. Date, root color, leaf cutting time, morning and evening checks. White to gray was recorded. Gray to black was isolated. People complained it was too slow. Hunger moves fast. Soil heals slowly. The first week gave the city no grain. The upper district grew angry. Nobles asked why the south district had porridge while the palace had smaller meals. The grain office said distribution took time. Count Valmont said it was not time. He said the gardener was delaying on purpose. As long as food stayed scarce, the king needed him. That rumor spread fast. Hunger grows rumors faster than vines. During the second week, the first bitter lamp house in the old garden lit up. At night, green light glowed through the broken frames. Patients arrived in rows. Healers gave medicine at the door. Rowan required every patient to leave a name, illness level, dosage, and response. Nobles hated the paperwork. So did common people. Rowan did not change it. Medicine without a record teaches nothing. Next time, we will not know who it helped and who it harmed. During the third week, silver grain finally entered the main field. That day, the first black snow fell over Elenril. It did not melt on roofs. It sat there like gray dust. Normal plants touched it and softened. The last supply convoy outside the west gate was hit by night feeders. Only 3 carts returned. They did not carry grain. They carried broken tack and a few frozen guards. The city was fully cut off. But a city learns rules more slowly than hunger loses patience. For days after the final storehouse closed, the first mother seed theft happened at the old south well. The thief was not a noble. She was a mother. Her son had black fever and could barely stand. She had heard mother seed was stronger than grain. She opened the stone at the bottom of the well and tried to take 2 seeds to cook for him. The old man guarding the well found her. She fell to her knees. Please, only 2. My child needs them. The guard did not know what to do. He brought her to Rowan. Everyone around the table was silent. They knew she was not wicked. She was terrified. Rowan placed the 2 mother seeds on the table. They had not been cooked. They were still alive. Do you know how much food these 2 can become? The mother shook her head. In 20 days, They can feed 120 people for 3 days. If you cook them tonight, they give your son 1 meal and make him sicker. The woman sank to the floor. I did not know. Rowan looked at her for a long time. By rule, anyone who stole mother's seed could never enter a seed bank again. But punishment alone would not stop the next theft. People were not stealing from greed. They were stealing from fear. You cannot enter the seed bank again. The woman closed her eyes. But you will work at the ration line. Each day, you will read how many bowls the mother rose can become. You will read it until you remember. You will read it until others remember too. Some people were angry. That is too light. She stole the future. Then she will tell the city what the future is worth. After that, the ration line had a new voice. 3 mother rows saved today means 400 more bowls in 20 days. 1 mother seed not taken today means 1 more child can recover tomorrow. At first, the mother read through tears. Later, her voice became steady. Hungry people still shook in the line. They still argued. But for the first time, they could measure tomorrow in an empty bowl. On the 5th day, the palace sent an official negotiator. He did not come to seize. He came to buy. The contract said the crown would purchase 70% of the seed bank's output. Then the crown would distribute it fairly. It sounded reasonable. The kingdom had officials. It had carts. It had warehouses. A royal system seemed efficient. Rowan turned to the last page. There it said, planting details will be determined by the relevant royal departments. He closed the contract. No. The negotiator expected this. Mr. Hale, you cannot rely on personal trust forever. The kingdom needs a system. I agree. Then why refuse? Rowan pushed his ledger across the table. Because you are buying seeds, not rules. The negotiator frowned. Rules can be added as an attachment. Who enforces them? The grain office. They sealed my garden for destruction. Royal farm masters. They ruined 20 silver grain seeds. Noble warehouse officers. They tried to buy medicine ahead of dying patients. The negotiator's face tightened. You cannot reject the whole kingdom for old mistakes. I am not rejecting it. I am giving it away to stop repeating them. He pulled out another contract. It was only 3 pages. Page 1. Anyone who buys seed must also buy planting training. Page 2. Seeds cannot be resold. Seeds cannot be harvested early. Seeds cannot be moved to another field. Every harvest saves mother seed before food is distributed. Page 3. Anyone who breaks the rules can be cut off from supply. The error will be made public. Mother seed can be recalled. The negotiator looked up. This is not trade. Correct. What is it then? A survival agreement. This became known as the seed rules. The name was not grand. It had no noble blessing. It looked less like a business contract and more like instructions written for a famine. But it changed power inside a Lenrel. Before, whoever had gold bought grain first. Now, whoever could keep rules received seed first. Before, noble warehouses decided if poor streets ate. Now, 1 mother row, 1 green lamp, and 1 record sheet could stop a noble hand. Many people hated Rowan for that. More people began to trust him. One afternoon, a noble steward came to the medicine table. He dropped gold onto the wood. The coins rang loud enough for the whole line to hear. The baker woman was dividing bitter lamp portions. She did not look at the gold. My lady needs medicine now. The baker woman swept the coins aside with the edge of a wooden spoon. You stand behind the lamp guard who just finished night duty. That is the rule. The steward looked around for someone to overrule her. No one moved. Not the soldiers. Not the mothers. Not even his own driver. Feel the power here. No shouting. No threat. Only a line of tired people watching him with quiet eyes. The rule stands at the table like a 4th person. The steward picks up his gold. Then he walks to the back of the line. From that moment, Elenrel was not only short on food. It was waiting for the final storehouse to answer. The old botanical garden became the center of every eye. On the first night of the main silver grain field, Rowan did not sleep. He sat near the rows with his old coat around his shoulders. His father's iron box rested in his hands. Half the box was empty now. Each seed packet used felt like a piece of the past gone into the soil. Marin came and stood beside him. You have not slept in 3 days. The first night cannot be left alone. Why? Silver grain meeting new soil tests how much it can take. If no one watches, it takes too much. Then the kernels carry poison. Marin looked over the quiet field. I used to think farming was the quietest work in the world. It is quiet. That is why people do not hear it failing. A shout rose from the gate. Upper district servants had arrived with carts. They claimed Count Valmont had purchased the next harvest and that it must be loaded at once. The South District apprentices blocked the way. The servants showed a stamped order. It carried the royal deputy's seal. Marin looked at it and went still. The seal is real. Rowan stood. Valmont finally made his move. He did not send guards. He sent law. The order sounded noble. To protect order in the upper district. To maintain royal ceremony. To keep public confidence. The old botanical garden must supply court noble households first. As compensation, Count Valmont would pay 10 times the grain price. Rowan read the order and placed it beside a lamp. The servant panicked. You would destroy a royal order? No, I want everyone to see it clearly. He spread the document in the light. The apprentices saw it. The lamp guard saw it. Patients waiting for medicine saw it. Who signed it? The interior minister. Does the king know? Marin did not answer. Rowan nodded. Then we wait for the king himself. What gives a gardener the right to pause a royal order? Rowan lifted one hand toward the field. That field is not ready. Silver grain must wait until the veins turn pale gold. Harvest now, and 1/3 of the eaters will fall sick. You may take it, but I will stamp every bag black. Unripe. Unsafe. And I will write every handler's name in the record. The servant froze. 10 times the price cannot make grain ripen early. Gold does not teach seeds manners. A few people laughed. When the laugh reached Count Valmont, it became a wound to his pride. Valmont's danger was not anger. It was that his anger could wear the face of order. The next morning, 3 black carriages arrived at the seed bank. They did not bring soldiers with oil. They brought officials, clerks, and royal etiquette officers. Their leader held a temporary management stamp. He announced that the old botanical garden was now under special food control. Rowan's authority was suspended for 24 hours. The reason sounded careful. To prevent personal judgment from affecting citywide food distribution. To prevent a South District group from controlling life resources. To protect fair supply for the crown, the army, healers, and all districts. Every line sounded correct. Every line avoided the only question that mattered. Who knows how to grow the food? Marin reached for his belt. Rowan stopped him. Do not turn this into a rebellion. They are taking your garden. No, the garden is not mine. Then why not resist? Rowan watched officials enter the greenhouse. Because what they took is responsibility. Responsibility bites. The temporary managers moved quickly. First, they removed the muddy boot racks. They said the racks damaged royal dignity. Then they redesigned the ration forms. They moved illness level after family name because clerks said names should come first. Then they replaced 37 green lamps with bright white lamps. The lamp guards went pale. White light makes night wall vine sleep. We are not here to manage vine emotions. We need visibility. In the bitter lamp house, officials smelled bitterness and opened the windows. Healer apprentices rushed to stop them. Cold air locks the leaf juice. A clerk frowned. Patients are waiting. Air should move. Near the cleansing field, farm masters moved the gray leaf pit closer to the water channel for easier transport. Gray leaves cannot sit near water. He was pushed aside. At the silver grain mother row, a manager saw a full line of mature kernels left standing and could not bear it. Hungry people are outside, and you leave grain in the dirt? That is the mother row. The mother row is still grain. He ordered it cut. Lila ran in front of the row. You cannot harvest it. It is for seed. The manager looked at a small South District girl with mud on her sleeve. Children should not discuss grain policy. Lila did not move. If you do not save seed, in 20 days you will manage air. The manager's face darkened. He ordered her pulled away. Rowan saw it from outside the gate. His hands closed into fists. Still not going in? If I enter now, they will call it a riot. So we watched them ruin it. Rowan watched the white lamps, open windows, moved pits, and cut mother row. We record. Marin stared at him. What? Every mistake. Who gave the order? What time? When the plants react. Write it down. When the damage appears, they cannot blame a South District plot. Those 24 hours felt longer than any battle. In the first hour, the old garden looked cleaner. White lamps made the glass shine. Clerks lined up record boards. Noble visitors nodded approval. People waiting outside became uncertain. Had Rowan really made everything too dirty and difficult? In the third hour, bitterlamp leaves turned pale at the edges. The healer apprentices reported it. Pale edges meant pure medicine. The windows stayed open. In the fifth hour, the night wall line slowed. A small night feeder slipped from a broken channel. Under white light, the vine moved like it was half asleep. A lamp guard used his shield to push the creature back and demanded green lamps. The etiquette officer refused unapproved oil. In the seventh hour, 1/3 of the mother row was cut. The kernels went into gold-trimmed boxes for the upper district. Mark the boxes black. You still want to protect them? I want to protect whoever eats. Marin took black paint and wrote on each box. Mother row grain. Unripe. Not for food. Not for seed. The manager shook with anger. He did not dare erase it in front of witnesses. To erase it would admit he wanted to hide the risk. In the ninth hour, the cleansing field turned sweet again. Because the gray leaf pit sat too close to the channel, the smell traveled with moisture. 3 water workers became dizzy. A patient who had just recovered became feverish again. The temporary managers panicked. They opened Rowan's ledger. It was gone. Rowan had already copied the important pages into 12 parts and given them to 12 apprentices. The etiquette officer rushed to the gate. Hale, give us the ledger. My authority is suspended. You are endangering the city. No, you removed the people who know how to use the ledger. In the 11th hour, the mistake became impossible to hide. A noble cook ignored the black stamp and used mother row kernels in a small pot of porridge. He wanted to test the flavor for Valmont's household. The porridge foamed gray-white. It smelled like wheat. He tasted it. Minutes later, he could not speak. His throat swelled badly. He could barely speak. This time, the temporary managers could not contain the news. Families rushed to the seed bank. Lamp guards refused orders. Healer apprentices shut the windows. The ration keeper stood before the line and read Rowan's old rules aloud. Unripe silver grain is not food. Mother rows must not be cut. White lamps do not replace green lamps. Gray leaves do not go near water. With every rule, the crowd grew quieter. They finally understood. Rowan's rules were not there to make him important. They were there because hunger and pride make dangerous mistakes. At the 12th hour, the king's guards arrived. The temporary management stamp was taken away. The etiquette officer tried to explain. We only wanted a more efficient system. Rowan walked through the gate. He did not look at people first. He looked at the lamps. White lamps out. Green lamps restored. Then the windows. Bitter lamp house sealed. Warmth returned. Then water. Gray leaves back to the lime ground. Channel closed for 3 hours. Then mother row. Cut lines isolated. No second-generation seed from damaged grain. His orders came fast. They were calm and exact. Everyone moved. Marin watched and finally understood why Rowan had not charged in earlier. He had not been calm. He had been waiting for the mistake to show its root. 2 hours later, the old garden was pulled back from the edge. The losses were heavy. 1 bitter lamp crop was gone. The vine line needed 3 days to recover. 1/3 of the silver grain mother row was damaged. 2 cleansing beds were sealed. Rowan wrote every number on a public notice. He hid nothing. He did not push all blame onto the nobles. At the bottom, he wrote a new rule. No institution may take over a growing zone without passing a rule exam and completing a 7-day handover with the original growers. Anyone who violates this loses mother seed rights permanently. People later called it the 7-day handover law. Nobles hated it most. The city's seeds became safer because of it. When Count Valmont heard the new rule, he broke the last silver cup in his study. He finally understood the real problem. Rowan was not difficult because he knew how to grow forbidden seeds. He was difficult because every time someone tried to take control, the mistake became a stronger rule. So Valmont changed his plan. If he could not control the seed rules, he would make the city doubt them. On the night of the Black Frost, rumors spread through all districts. Rowan saved seeds while children went hungry. Rowan fed the South District first. Rowan hid a private store in the old garden. Rowan's plants caused the disaster, and now he sold the cure. By dawn, angry people surrounded the seed bank. They were not evil. Many had empty bowls. Some had sick family at home. Fear had been given the right words. At that exact hour, Rowan was not at the gate. A cleansing bed near the lower channel had turned sweet. If it reached the water line, 3 districts would lose safe water. Rowan was in the mud with Cedric, sealing the channel. So the gate had to stand without him. Marin wanted soldiers in a hard line. Then he saw the people. Mothers. Lamp guards off duty. Old men with empty bowls. The kind of people he had once pushed away because an order told him to. He lowered his sword. Opened the record tables. A guard stared at him. Without Rowan? The rule is not Rowan. The rule is the rule. The gates opened to the record yard, not the fields. Every ration sheet came out. Every seed count. Every medicine list. Every mistake ledger. The papers were laid on long tables. The crowd pressed forward. Marin stepped onto the first table. Listen. His voice is not kind. That is why people hear it. I have followed foolish orders before. I signed papers that should never have been signed. I helped burn what I did not understand. The crowd quiets. So hear me now. I will not let fear burn the same hope twice. He points to the field line. Anyone can read the records. Anyone can question the count. But nobody crosses that line to touch seed. If you break the rule, you do not step over Rowan. You step over me. No one moves. Marin's old reputation fills the street. This time, he uses it to protect the rule. Then Lila comes forward. Not alone. With 6 children. Each child carries a tray of new silver grain seedlings. Tiny stems. Pale leaves. Living proof. Lila lifts one tray so the front row can see. Please look. Her voice shakes. Then steadies. This is not food yet. This is next week's food. She places an early cut plant beside a ripe plant in 2 glass jars. One has gray kernels. One has pale gold kernels. This one is panic. This one is patience. A man shouts from the crowd. My family is hungry now. The mother who once stole seed stands beside Lila. Mine too. That is why we count tomorrow. She reads from the board. For rows saved today. 600 bowls in 20 days. 2 rows cut early. 0 safe bowls. No speech from Rowan. No grand command. Only Marin's line. Lila's seedlings. The mother's numbers. The records on the tables. The rule working without its gardener. The crowd does not cheer. Hungry people rarely cheer. But they stop pushing the gate. That is enough. At the lower channel, Rowan hears the news later. He sits back in the mud. For a moment, he looks more tired than relieved. They held it without you. Rowan looks toward the seed bank lights. Good. Then the garden is not only mine anymore. Valmont's rumor failed. So he tried one last time. He attacked the rule that hurt him most. Priority. The next morning, he appeared at the palace with a proposal. The army was hungry. The nobles were frightened. The king was exhausted. Valmont argued that noble houses must receive full supply because they maintained public order. If nobles fell, the city would lose leadership. If the city lost leadership, panic would destroy the fields. It sounded logical. It was also self-serving. The king called Rowan to the throne hall again. This time, there was no ceremony. Only tired faces. Can the city survive if noble houses receive reduced rations? Yes. Can it survive if command collapses? Command does not come from full plates. It comes from people believing the rule is the same for everyone. Valmont smiled coldly. You think a lamp guard equals a count? At night, a lamp guard is more useful. The hall stirred. What is your answer to Valmont's proposal? Rowan opened his ledger. I brought numbers. He read them out. 1 lamp guard protects 3 vine posts. 3 vine posts protect 200 families. 1 field worker maintains 12 food rows. 12 food rows make more than a noble table can eat in a month. 1 sick child who receives medicine early needs 3 leaves. 1 child who waits too long may need 12. Priority is not kindness. It is math. He closed the ledger. If a count can guard a lamp, let him receive lamp guard priority. If a count can cut gray leaves, let him receive field worker priority. If a count waits at home with clean hands, he waits in the normal line. No one spoke. Then King Odric slowly stood. From this day forward, priority follows function and need, not title. Valmont's face emptied. The king continued. And I will take the normal line. The hall went still. This was not a heroic speech. It was stronger. It was the crown choosing the rule it had once tried to destroy. That evening, the king's name appeared on the same ration board as everyone else's. Odric. Adult. No fever. No field duty. Standard ration. The city stared at the board. Then someone laughed softly. Not mockery. Relief. For the first time, the rule felt taller than the palace. Valmont lost his last legal tool. But the city still had to survive the winter. The final test came 3 nights later. Black snow fell until the streets looked covered in ash. The lower drains froze. Night feeders could not enter through their usual paths. So they climbed. They came up the outside of the old walls, drawn by the smell of silver grain ripening in the old botanical garden. The alarm bells rang. People panicked and tried to run toward the garden. Rowan ordered the gates closed, not to keep people out forever, to keep them from trampling the fields. Marin led the lamp guards to the wall. Cedric took the farm apprentices to the water channels. The baker woman opened emergency ration lines. The mother who had once stolen seed read the mother row numbers to stop panic. Lila ran between green lamps with spare oil. No one waited for noble permission. The system moved because everyone knew their part. At the wall, the night feeders reached the old stones. Rowan did not become a battle mage. He did not throw vines like a fighter. He did what a gardener does. He changed conditions. He ordered warm water poured into 3 channels. The steam woke the wall roots. He ordered green lamps shifted 2 posts east. The vine shadows moved. He ordered silver grain chaff thrown outside the 3rd gate. The smell drew the night feeders away from the main field. Then the night wall vine rose, not as a monster, as a living fence. It spread over the broken sections of wall, held the gaps, and guided the night feeders into empty alleys where guards could push them back safely. The fight lasted until dawn. There were injuries. There was damage. But the old botanical garden stood. The silver grain field survived. The bitterlamp house stayed warm. The seed bank did not open to panic. When the sun rose, the city saw something impossible. The black snow still covered the roofs. The storehouses were still empty. The outside roads were still unsafe. But inside the old botanical garden, pale gold silver grain bowed under its own weight. The last city had food. Not enough for feasts. Not enough for comfort. Enough for tomorrow. Rowan walked into the field with Lila, Marin, Cedric, the baker woman, the old well guard, and dozens of apprentices. He did not cut first. He counted. Mother rows first. Seed share second. Medicine workers third. Lamp guards fourth. Children and patients fifth. Public ration sixth. No one argued. They had learned that order was not a delay. It was the only reason food reached anyone at all. When the first full wagon of safe silver grain entered the city square, people did not throw flowers. There were no flowers left. They lifted empty bowls. Thousands of bowls rose in silence. The sound came after, not cheering at first, breathing, like the whole city had been holding one breath for weeks. Then the baker woman opened the first public pot. The porridge was thin. It smelled like grass and warm bread. The king stood in the normal line. A countess stood behind a lamp guard. A grain officer washed bowls. Cedric taught a child how to tell pale gold from unsafe gray. Marin no longer called Rowan Mr. Hale. He called him gardener. Once, that word sounded like an insult. Now it sounded like an office. Count Valmont was not dragged through the streets. Rowan did not need a public revenge. Valmont's punishment was simpler. He had to stand before the ration board and read the seed rules aloud to every noble household that came for food. He read them with a face of stone. Children laughed behind their bowls. Rowan did not smile, but Lila did. Cedric stayed at the seed bank. He organized the error ledger into lessons. He removed his old papers on forbidden plants. On the first page of the new manual, he wrote, "In a disaster age, a plant we do not understand is often called dangerous." Rowan read it and added one line. "After we understand it, we still do not use it carelessly." The last winter in the story was colder than any before. Night feeders still moved outside the wall. People still tried to steal food. Nobles still complained about waiting. Children still asked why they could not have one more bowl. The world did not become kind because of one garden, but it stopped falling apart. That was already difficult. When the first clean snow fell, Rowan stood on the city wall. In his hand was a new seed, not one from his father's iron box. A second-generation mother seed grown by the city itself. It was fuller than the old seeds. A thin gold line crossed its shell. It proved one thing. Elinril was no longer surviving only on the past. It was growing its own tomorrow. Below the wall, Nightwall Vine opened slowly beyond the green lamps. Far away, the abandoned cities were still dark. They looked like a nightmare that had not woken. But inside Elinril's walls, there was porridge steam. There were medicine lamps. There were children reading planting rules out loud. Lila ran up the wall stairs and pushed a hot bowl into Rowan's hands. You forgot to eat again. Rowan took it. The porridge was thin. It still tasted like grass. This time he drank it. Lila looked beyond the wall. When the outside soil is clean too, should we build a new city? Rowan shook his head. First, we plant one field. Only one. One is enough to start. The girl smiled. She understood now. What saves people is not a kingdom built overnight. It is the first piece of soil brought back. The first safe bowl of porridge. The first lamp that does not go out. The first seed that no one owns alone. Rowan placed the second-generation mother seed into a small cloth bag. He hung it on a wooden peg below the wall. Under the peg was a new planting form. Anyone who wanted seed had to write a name, a field, a purpose, a harvest time, and a seed-saving share. A young soldier saw it and asked, "Now the whole city knows your rules. Aren't you afraid that once they learn, they will not need you anymore?" Rowan looked at the green lights across the city. That means the garden is truly alive. The soldier did not know what to say. Rowan turned and walked down from the wall. The wind moved his old coat. It carried the smell of soil, medicine leaves, and warm porridge. He still did not look like a hero. No crown, no staff, no shining cloak. Only hands that would never stay clean, and a ledger of mistakes that kept growing thicker. Inside the gate, people were waiting for seed. Outside the gate, more land was waiting to be healed. Rowan walked toward the greenhouse. Lila caught up at the greenhouse door. "Do you think the seed will keep growing?" Rowan opens his palm. The second-generation mother seed rests there. See, the seed kept its promise again. Rowan looks at the dark soil warming under the glass. The soil kept its promise. He looks back at the city. Lamps, bowls, records, people waiting in line, people keeping line. Finally, we are learning to keep ours. Dawn touches the greenhouse roof. It is time to plant. Rowan and Lila stood small at the greenhouse door. Above them, green lamps glowed across a lineal like small stars. They did not know if the outside cities would ever wake up. But inside a lineal, one seed had become a row had become a field, and a field had become a rule. So they planted.